Yeah, what's the deal with that? I mean, it's all you, baby.
Well, I mean, your gain's coming through just fine on the channel, and it seems like it's not ducking out anymore. It was just weird. It got like real tinny
Yeah.
and kind of crispy,
Huh.
like a
Crispy.
like a chicken nugget.
A soggy chicken nugget.
It wasn't a soggy chicken nugget. That's the worst. I have a chat window open somewhere. Yeah, dumbass me walked away from my computer at home without my reverse tunnel in, so I can't connect to my IRC client at home.
Aw.
Yeah. What? I thought we already fixed this.
You wanted it to stay fixed?
Well,
Yeah, my bike for some reason is picking like everything up.
It's not broadcasting it, which is nice.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it seems.
well, I hear myself typing.
Yeah, I'm definitely
Yes.
hearing the clicking through come through, but I did have your gate a little bit low to see if we get rid of that background noise.
Bang bang.
Bang bang.
She shot me down.
Maxwell
Bang
Silver
bang.
hanger.
I guess I'll be muting myself a lot tonight, which is not a bad thing.
Nope. Hey, your gain seems to come back up again now too.
I didn't touch anything.
I think Skype, even if you turn off everything like that, it still does some sort of auto gain control in the background. Because if I turn your gain down, it comes back up, and if I bring it back up, it goes back down.
Huh.
Yeah.
Let's see my...
I'm not saying your settings are wrong, because I've seen it happen across every single Skype instance we've used. Jeremy, what you drinking?
I'm drinking Schwarzbier.
Schwarzbier?
33 Acres of Darkness.
Nice.
Streaming or no?
Yes, we are.
Steaming and streaming.
Okay. Holy crap. Why is this chair so high?
Because you weren't here last week. What'd you do, Alan?
That's not my laptop.
Yeah, but you sat down and started messing up. We really want to install this update.
I have 3 app updates available.
No.
That's what that laptop saw as so important to
You give us like 30 pings.
just keep pinging. Like, wow.
Alan went for
It's these slow motion crackers to mouth.
Uh-huh.
You think that's
Where's your
funny?
cold
That
open,
ain't
Alex?
funny.
It's funny.
Is that
Yep.
good enough for your cold open?
Look at me, I'm spinning. I'm spinning. Flicks their bicks. Know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I keep forgetting we have this
Many
lights.
layers to that statement.
Oh!
What?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Studio isn't responding.
But it turned off. No, no.
Because the lights are turned off.
And nobody's home.
Take me to the bridge. And
That
Throw
was
me
funny 'cause
overboard?
none of them are.
Powered on.
Yeah, it doesn't have power.
how did that song go? That's a
Alexa,
long
turn
time
off
since I heard
studio.
that one.
Give it a minute.
What? Wi-Fi?
He's blissing out on cracker. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
You're not gonna eat
There's
those
something
while we're
really
streaming,
kind of
right?
funny on Twitter.
Try not to.
I laughed.
I have that disease where people can't stand the sound of people chewing.
That's not a disease. It's called manners.
No, my disease is that called misophonia.
That's what I was just looking up to.
Misophonia.
That's some phony miso.
I opened up Slack and there was a bunch of HTML. What the hell's going on?
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
put down there. No, he's trying to figure something out. Not part of the conversation. Don't bitch about it.
I'm messing with your head.
No, you're right. It doesn't. Josh, you know the guy TMF Chipful, TMF Chipful on Twitter?
Yeah.
He's, I can't know if I pronounce his name. Ashraf? I've met him
Yeah,
several
Ashraf.
times. I've been giving him shit on Twitter because of his like pro Apple, anti Intel
Intel thing, yeah.
tweets. Like,
That makes sense.
yeah. Tweeted out something about
If you can't stand the sound of people chewing, blame your brain.
prediction.
Well, they
iPhone
usually
X
blame.
2018 will have many great tech innovations, but Tech Press will call it boring because it looks like iPhone X 2017. Just like I replied back, "You are 8 up, son," with a winky smiley face or something like that.
You know what really works? Yelling at people on the internet.
That works because someone's wrong all the time, 24/7.
Usually it's Josh.
You are 8 up. Yeah, well,
I mean,
yeah.
I was doing it in a joking manner. We get along. We're buddies. I just feel like it's
I think it's a little too negative on Intel's manufacturing. Now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Intel has squandered their lead, and
But see,
they've thrown a lot of
argument would
money at it
be-
and has not had the returns that they've been hoping.
My argument would be that it's almost impossible for us to tell if they have squandered a lead until we're making equal chips on both sides. Like the same chip on both sides. Because it really comes down to power efficiency and frequency, right? Like those are the two metrics by which the performance of your process technology is judged, right?
So with the latest Intel 6-core, how does that do in terms of power efficiency versus like a 1600X, which is 6-core, 12-thread?
But that isn't solely based on the process node. It's also based on the architecture
Yeah,
and the design.
I
of the
know,
CPU.
but it's the closest thing that we have going
I
at
think
the
those
moment.
architectures are significantly different in that
Yeah.
any process tech scientist would punch me in the face for trying to make that comparison directly. Like what's his face from Intel, Mark Bohr. He would probably literally come across the table and punch me in the face. He seems
Well,
like
I mean,
that
he's in
kinda
the room, so
I'd like to see that though.
guy.
So you should.
Yeah.
I would
Record
too,
that one.
To be fair,
Yeah, I would pay to see that.
I'd like to see Mark Bohr punch me
I
in the
would.
face.
We have a new Patreon level.
Yes.
You want to see Ryan get punched in the face?
By Mark Bohr.
And the next year up, Buzz Aldrin will do it.
All right, we gotta do this thing because I gotta go to bed.
Stuff to do.
Good night.
All right. 472.
Thanks
right?
for joining
got a
us.
vacation to go
472. Things happened. Read on the site.
I've got a
Have
long
a good night.
weekend ahead of me of vacationing in Disney World again. Why is the
Again?
screen keep?
And you make it sound like it's a bad
What
thing.
is the screen doing?
It was kind of acting a little bit weird with when Alan sat down, so I'm blaming Alan on
I'll
it.
be right back.
I didn't touch it.
Real
All the
quick.
way back there. Little boat on it.
No, I'm talking about this screen.
The coffee-like boat.
The screen's brightness keeps changing.
That boat must live in infamy from here on out.
Huh.
Every shot.
You see that?
Well, when you were away, this laptop was just alerting endlessly.
That's because it was Dropbox changes. I think this power adapter that's meant for that MateBook isn't enough. Yeah, because this actually gives me a pop-up
So
saying
Lenovo can.
the AC adapter cannot provide enough
Oh,
power
thanks.
for normal operation.
Did you grab the other one?
Noted.
Do your job.
This one's charged though, right?
Yeah, I just grabbed whatever Type C was sitting on the desk and
Yeah,
shoved it
no,
in there.
you did the right thing. I used this other cable because I was going to try to plug mine in too, but mine's more important because I have to get on a plane tomorrow. Just tell it like it is. Is Josh back yet?
He is coming back.
3, 2.
Did he have his headphones on
This
yet?
chair just did that.
He can't hear yet.
And another time we talked
2,
about Josh.
1.
What?
Uh-huh.
I told everybody it was going.
How you liking that chair? Yeah? Don't lean back. It'll just lower on
Did
its own.
the shock absorber break?
It's there's some bushing in there that like fell out.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't.
Well, I don't hear an echo anymore, so me neither.
So we're all good then.
You just
At least it drops at a
slowly
consistent
keep
rate.
sinking.
Well, I tell you. Listen, you're the one that swapped chairs.
What's that chair sound like?
You swapped
Grab
chairs.
a couple of monitor boxes and stand it underneath the chair.
You claimed that I had swapped chairs, which I didn't, and then swapped
No,
them.
I knew that he did. Just undoing some stuff.
But he didn't because that's the chair I used to sit in. You could
Yeah,
tell
so
'cause
he swapped it because I didn't used to sit in it. Let's see what this does.
You have achieved your superiority over Alan again
Thank
through
you.
height.
Yep. All right.
Do you need a pillow, Alan?
this one's sinking too.
Get a hemorrhoid pillow.
Trying to find the couldn't reach it. All right, here we go.
You don't
No,
even
we're
want
not.
to see what's happening under that table.
Not usually, no.
All right. 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 472 being recorded on October 18th, 2017. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath in the correct order that I'm supposed to be tonight because everybody's here for a change.
And I'm Alan Mamontano that finally got a chance to say something.
Well, we fixed that, didn't we? Welcome to the show, everyone. I don't have any funny, witty things to say at the beginning, I guess. How's everybody doing? It's been so long since I've seen Josh.
That's okay. My life's just as crappy as the last time you saw me. So
Okay.
I see the motorcycle helmets are still
Are
in the
those-
same place.
Different headphones?
no, they're the Grado SR 225s.
Sure.
I've had for a long time.
different on your monitor, maybe?
Well, you know what? It's the blue shirt really brings out the blue in my eyes and the headphones.
I'm with it. Welcome to the show. We record and talk about computer hardware sometimes. Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific is when we do record the show. You can watch us record it, hang out in the chat room, all that type of stuff at pcper.com/live. If you need a little reminder about said event so that you can be sure to participate in all of it, you can go to pcper.com/subscribe as soon as he figures out how our rundown works. And come on, ESPN is beating us to this punch here.
What? Who?
You need to click in the space. No, click in the white space. He swears this has never happened to him before.
Yeah, that's what we all
You're
say.
double clicking on the letters and you're
Use the keyboard.
We'll get it. We'll almost got it, guys. So if you want to subscribe, pcper.com/subscribe, and you get a page that asks for your name and your email address, and then you fill that out, and
He's breaking.
There it is. That's the page. We still don't know what's going on with the rundown, but that is the page that you get.
There. Yeah. Oh.
It's actually scrolling? Are you using a different browser this time? We'll start over from this part.
Yeah, we're gonna stop recording and just kill the browser and reopen it. It's not gonna work in IE. Yeah.
I don't know that. And it was built to run in Google. It's scaled.
Computer
Computer
to
has
Speak.
literally been doing this one operation for the past 3.5 years.
Do you have like scroll lock on, off, something like that? I bet that's what it is.
Close the browser and reopen it.
Oh, all the secrets.
Oh no.
Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah. So whatever was installed on that laptop, God knows how long ago. Whoa. Yeah. Have you tried turning it back off and on and back on off? Whatever. However the hell you say that. Uh-oh. That machine's not allowed to die. Damn it.
Like an AMD reference platform for one of their notebook APUs. Running Windows 8.0.
All right. Huh? Nope. Not doing it.
Damn you, yellow box. You've let us down for the last time.
What the heck is going on? No, that's on the beta track. And not updating.
What?
That was a beta.
Hang on.
What was a beta?
That version of Chrome on there was on the beta track or something.
How do you know that?
Because it said like developer something at some point.
What? That's the CSS tonight. And it's not working? But the rundown.css has a modified date of 9:33 tonight.
Reboot the computer.
Version of Chrome is it?
We blame Windows as well.
That is definitely not Windows updated. Long time. Running vanilla 8.
Yeah. Ha. It's Windows 8, buddy.
What are you trying to do?
Control Alt Delete. No, he just wants to reboot.
Hmm.
You got to move the
Hi,
mouse.
my name's Clippy.
to the
I see
secret
you're trying to
corner.
reboot. Would you like some help with that?
Got to move it to the hot corner. Pull up the thing. An abomination that was Windows 8.
Yep. Hell of a UI.
Is that doing anything? Oh, okay. Because like I still see Metro on this fragment
Yank
of
the
Metro
power
on
plug out of it.
in the rundown spot. Pre-podcast checklist entry. Click up and down on rundown. Oh.
I didn't catch that on.
You drinking the bourbon? Mm-hmm.
Will be soon.
Yeah, get booted.
Huzzah! Huzzah!
Stupid rundown computer. You should just clone the rundown machine into a VM and just fire that VM up on another machine.
The hardware that's the problem. It's literally the software.
You just wouldn't need another laptop running.
Yeah, but he doesn't really have
All right, get some cardboard and scissors and markers.
monitors.
Software hasn't changed. Is it really the software?
It's not the hardware. The hardware doesn't make it so you can't down arrow
keyboard-
in a Chrome tab.
If the keyboard got some funky...
A half pint of beer on the keyboard.
Can we open up Chrome on any other laptop and... Wait, what? You sure the CSS thing you were messing with didn't break that?
We went back 2 weeks.
Well,
CSS is embedded? Well, yeah.
Has Ryan got that to plug in or to hit him with?
I'm gonna say no.
I'm thinking the revert did not take. Is that on the Dropbox? Can we
that's what
revert?
I'm looking for.
Oh.
God help us all.
Also, why the hell did you edit the CSS file? Oh, okay.
I don't know where it would be on the server.
In that folder. Talking about the.
Oh no. Quick show, huh?
Super fun.
Couldn't even get to my news post from during the podcast last week. Which was the first item.
Won't say your stats.
Nobody gives a shit about that.
Nobody.
Backups. What backups?
We do have backups. It's just quicker to go through revert from the Dropbox file.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, wait, where you think we
There's
have
an
the backups
entire
at?
other array.
It's on the web server.
We don't have that on Dropbox? We don't have a
Searching.
folder that's Dropboxed that we copied to the web server from? Oh.
Searching to see if I can find the original file.
That works on your machine? With no changes?
Version of Chrome are you running?
What?
Oh, it's a working.
What?
I
You don't give a shit,
saw
but in
it.
the JS file, there was a missing single quotation mark in the JS file that hasn't been changed since 2 months ago.
But Chrome
Lies.
changed V8 in a
Somebody
way.
stole my
that-
punctuation.
I just hard refreshed the page and now it works.
Oh, you know what? Chrome might have. Somebody might have changed that 2 months ago. And that version of Chrome still had it cached.
Everybody
that-
JS file cached.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Was
all
it
right.
cached?
Well, full screen that window.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
And then make sure it works again. Okay, good.
Hey, look,
Just keep scrolling down. We'll start
Hey.
from wherever you pick.
my revert works now.
You fixed that bug that's been in there.
But at
since
least
That's
the,
what the
the
quote
fourth
was.
screen.
2013.
The quote. Hey!
See, this is an upgrade.
Well,
Oh,
It's actually kind of handy.
exactly.
to make an omelet,
All right,
you got to break some eggs. Break
Half
some
an hour
code.
later,
half an hour later. All right, so we're on subscribe.
30 minutes later.
I think we're just gonna start over.
Nope, we're gonna start right here.
Okay.
No, Ken, we're not doing
Written
that.
post.
60 seconds into the podcast, but
3, 2. And if you want to join us for the live stream in this very seamless, always prompt, and always very technically capable setup, you go to pcpro.com/subscribe, get your name and your email address in those fields right there, and we'll send you an email about our podcast. And that will be it. That's all of it. And also we have our Patreon campaign, patreon.com/PCPer. This is your way to become a monthly regular contributor to PC Perspective if you would like to. Now the text is highlighted. I don't know what's going on anymore. And as is always the case, if you become a new patron or increase your patrons during the show, I will read your name off on the live stream and thank you for it profusely.
He will read whatever you
put
put for your name.
Indeed. Other notes, just in case we have posted another episode of the mailbag, which you can see at youtube.com/PCPer. You can see that wonderful dude right there, wearing a bright yellow shirt, talking about computer
That
hardware.
whole animation of Ryan Shroud going swiping back and forth. That's
really,
high speed, low drag.
It's really worth seeing that all of the time. Yeah.
Yes.
So check that out. All right, so let's get into stuff. We did post a PC Per Plays as well. Me and Jim walked through some Shadows of the Empire from 1997. Literally got the takedown dispute, not takedown notice. What do you call it? Like a copyright notice. 30 seconds after the stream was over on the live stuff, and then like 30 seconds after the video was done processing for the posted version because it has all the Star Wars music in it. Go figure, it's a Star Wars game.
Well,
so
yeah. I mean, is that even fair use then? Like, it's not like...
I mean, I think it should be.
Should be.
Whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah,
Play
whatever.
in your damn game. Leave me alone.
So Shadows of the Empire. It was a good game. Now it's an okay game. All right, technology. Let's talk about this. This actually launched while they were recording the podcast last week. While you and I were out of town, we were at Western Digital learning about this technology. MAMR, M-A-M-R. The quick overview is this is the technology that's going to let us get up to 40 terabyte hard drives.
And bigger.
That's what they say. But they only quoted 40 terabytes. I wanted to quote like a 100 terabyte hard drive, but we're not there
well,
yet.
I mean, there's still a limit. Like,
No. Unlimited hard drive storage. You put it in the microwave, turn it on. Every 30 seconds, your hard drive is in the microwave. You double capacity. I think that's how the technology works. If I paid attention to the presentations,
Johnny Mnemonic, where you just
That's what it was.
you just get a drive doubler and poof, everything just like
exactly. So give us a quick rundown. What is this thing that Western Digital has announced, and why do I care?
All right. So there was a limit with hard drive technology, current perpendicular recording,
Which is what all of our like over 4 terabyte hard drives, over 6 terabyte hard drives are using today.
there.
Like everything over 320
Well, no, yeah, it's
gigabyte.
It's
Get perpendicular.
Yeah.
Get
Remember the Get Perpendicular thing?
That's a good song.
That was a while back too,
That's a good song.
right?
It's like 2003, 2004 perpendicular
So
came
that
out.
let us get into like the terabyte range-ish, right? The whole
Okay.
shift to perpendicular, because if you tried to, lay the fields on their side, like it was very inefficient for space,
Yep.
right? And if you stack them, have them sticking up like dominoes, like that works better. Okay. So that's kind of solved and bought us all the way out to like around 20 terabytes is where, we really wouldn't be able to make hard drives any bigger.
So we only have up to 14 today?
Yeah.
But Western Digital said like they believe that the theoretical limit, the peak of what they can do with the current existing technology was about 20 terabytes.
Yep. And the reason is this thing called the paramagnetic threshold.
Yeah.
Which is you can only make magnetic domains so small and still be able to focus enough energy on that area in order to change the magnetic
You can only make them
properties.
so small while also maintaining enough strength to flip the pole.
Yeah. Smaller domains, even smaller right head in order to change the, such a small area, and you can only focus so much, magnetic force into that area, right? So you end up with a threshold that basically levels out to about 20 terabytes. So if we want to go higher than that, we need some other way, right? And we've talked a lot, and Jeremy actually has done probably dozens of news posts over the past couple of years talking about Hammer, right? Heat assisted magnetic recording, which is where you
assisted.
which is where you hit the media with a laser. This is the laser that's literally like the width of the track, which is super narrow anyway, right? So it's not a lot of power, but it's focused on such a small area that it's actually able to heat up that media up to like several hundred degrees centigrade just before you try to change the magnetism.
Aiding in what?
Aiding in, if the media is much hotter, then you are able to overcome that threshold, that limit.
Okay.
Because if it's
It's easier
hotter,
to flip
it's easier to flip the
the
magnet.
bit.
Yeah, like if you overheat a magnet, it's not magnetic anymore.
See,
right?
I didn't know that until
Like,
learning
that's
about
a
this
thing.
tech.
Yeah.
But okay.
So same kind of thing applies there. So you just needed some way to add extra energy above what we could already do, right?
Got it.
Well, what if there was a way to add extra energy without adding heat?
Which would be good because heat has some unknown impact on reliability of these drives.
Yeah, it
because anytime you
basically-
heat up something to about 700 degrees Celsius, it's going to have a negative impact on the longevity of that device.
Yeah, and you start running into issues where you have to start treating hard drives like you treat SSDs now. You'd have to have like
Right
wear
leveling,
leveling, and
yeah.
you'd have to have all this other, and you would have a more finite amount of times you could overwrite the same area.
Perfect.
And
Of
I'd
a hard disk?
imagine designing a laser that only shines within the width of that small of a width is a difficult problem to miniaturize and put in a hard drive.
It is difficult to miniaturize, but honestly, like they've actually come pretty far on that. The difficulty is really in the media.
Yeah.
It's really in making the media last to a degree where it's
Constantly be heat cycled.
something that could be mass produced and just end up in your desktop, right? So this thing called MAMR, which is microwave assisted magnetic recording, is like they caught me off guard with this, like completely. Like Ryan and I were both like
MAMR?
halfway
never
through this
heard of it.
presentation. We were not just the fact that we hadn't heard of it, which I probably should have heard of it because the technology has white papers like dating almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, what the hell?
But it was just one of the other potential hard drive technologies
Sure.
that, we heard all about this Hammer stuff, but never heard about MAMR. Turns out WD was like working on this stuff for like 8 or 9 years or something, trying to make it work. And it's not microwave like, don't think microwave oven heating up your Hot Pockets,
I mean,
because it's not. It's not
it's
adding.
still microwaves.
It's not adding energy. It's not adding enough energy that it's going to even make a noticeable difference in the temperature.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Which
not-
is
it-
where the advantage in reliability comes in.
Yeah, it's not. Even if it warmed up a little bit, like it's nowhere near what Hammer's
700 C.
doing. Yeah.
Which is a lot still.
But the primary thing that makes this work is not by adding heat at all. It's by how the microwaves resonate, because the microwaves are at a specific frequency that actually causes a resonance of the field that's there, that's stored.
Mhm.
In other words, you had a north pointing up, a south pointing down. The microwaves actually cause the field to do like what a gyroscope does when it starts, like how it
Starts to slow down.
No, it presses. Like it has,
when
it has a precession to it. In other words, you try to tilt it one way, it angles another way,
okay.
right? Like a gyroscope does. This field resonates, like it's at the resonance frequency of the magnetic field that's stored
Mm-hmm.
on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it causes, instead of the field to be like perpendicular like it was, it starts to put it on an angle. It's like twisting around on an angle,
Mhm.
right? Sort of like the thing the gyroscope does as it's running out of steam and it's about to, like a top, it's about to tip over, right? If the field is not perfectly up and down and directly opposing the thing you're trying to do, in other words, you're trying to write the opposite thing, right? If you're able to get it to tilt,
It
Right?
makes it easier to flip.
first
the
it's
bit.
making it easier to kind of just nudge it the other way, and that resonance is actually adding the extra energy that you needed
Mhm.
to overcome that paramagnetic limit, right? Now, what's amazing about this is like the amount of energy that it takes to do the microwave thing, it's like 100th of the energy used that the right head would normally apply.
Right.
So this thing is able to make like a 2 to 3 times increase in effectiveness of the right head by only adding like 1% of the energy. It's just doing something different with the energy,
Right.
right? It's a different kind of energy. It's not a magnetic field now. It's an electromagnetic resonance instead. And it's like at a really high frequency. You're talking like tens of gigahertz, which was another engineering challenge, Ken, actually. That was the challenge why this thing hasn't been a thing so far. These
Yeah.
guys made a thing that can generate 20 to 40 gigahertz microwaves, and they fit it inside the head. It's not even next to the head.
Yeah.
It's in the center of the head.
Well, if you think about it,
So-
that's actually like a that's a really robust innovation space in technology now. If you're thinking like 5G, where you're dealing with cell phones that need radios that do microwaves, in
Yeah.
the same sort of. So there's a lot of people working on the miniaturization of microwaves,
Yes.
and I'm sure a lot of that research helped Western Digital do this.
Here's what's even more amazing. This thing is it purely makes the microwaves based on the composition of its material.
Huh.
You apply a DC voltage to this thing, and the more current you put through it, the higher frequency it goes. That's sweet, right? There's no logic. It's literally so that leads us into like, okay, it's another one of those potentially vaporware acronyms that they've thrown at us that we're going to be hearing about. That's going to be like Hammer was going to be the what I said in the article. This is going to be the next best storage technology within the next 3 to 5 years, and we've been saying that for like 15 years or something, right? This technology is probably not going to suffer from that problem because A, they've already figured out how to make these microwave generators.
Right.
Okay. B, that like one of the things they talked about was that Western Digital has already pioneered a different way of making hard drive heads that they have been using for the past like over 3 years. And that technology allows them to integrate this microwave generator into their heads.
Right.
So in other words, they already have the technology to enable this thing, right? The only other thing you add to today's hard drive, like you have a hard drive today, shipping.
I do.
Right?
Yes.
The only thing you add to it is a couple of wires coming off of the control chip at the end of the head, or just before the end of the head, that basically you just need 2 more leads just to be able to turn on and off this microwave generator. Nothing else changes. The way you write the track stays the same. The rest of the head stays the same. The rest of the logic for the drive stays the same, except for just turning this thing on when you're doing writes. It's literally just turn this on when you're writing, and you can write to a space at potentially 3 times the density.
So 40 terabyte drives like December or January then?
No, here's why.
No.
Because the media and the ability to sputter and produce like the media itself with domains that are smaller and smaller still has to progress, and they can't just flip some switch at the fab and poof, we suddenly have magnetic domains that are like 1/3 the size, right?
Okay.
So that's still going to take some time, but there's no real barriers to that other than just innovating in the tech, right?
Yep.
Which is cool, right? It's basically
the net result of which is that they claim to have on the roadmap now 40 terabyte hard drives, regular like 15% increases in storage density
per
at kind
year.
of a normal cadence.
Yep.
Right. They have much better reliability than what they think Hammer's going to do, and then they also are able to basically say that where we thought hard drives and SSDs were going to cross on the cost per dollar spectrum at some point, I think most people were estimating like 2024 or something to that effect.
There was going to be a crossover.
Yeah, because hard drive density had slowed, and SSD densities will continue to go. Now, Western Digital basically says through 2030, they think hard drives, at the minimum through 2030, will continue to be able to offer a 10x improvement in performance per dollar or storage per dollar compared to SSDs. Maintaining their place in data centers and in long-term storage and all this other stuff. Because we also talked about, I wrote about in my MarketWatch piece on this, like the need for data storage is never going to go away. It's never going to get smaller. Everybody's creating more data. We want access to it. The biggest problem is how do you access and organize it? But we know that it will be on hard drives or a vast majority of it. Like
big
Western
data will be
Digital
on hard
claims 90% of the storage that exists will continue to exist on hard drives.
Yeah, 90% of the capacity.
Of the capacity, will continue to exist into the foreseeable future, which is, talking to some of the storage specific analysts that were there, people who have been doing this their whole lives. Like one of the guys in the meetings I was in said, this fundamentally changed my outlook on the next decade of storage. Like he was of the mindset that hard drives were going to go away in the next 5 years.
That was probably Jim Handy.
No. Hard drives were going to go away in the next 5 years. It was going to be replaced by SSDs, and everybody was going to be okay with that because Western Digital bought into SSDs, and everybody had diversified into flash and spindle based drives.
Yeah.
But now they've come up with this, and he's like, well, now I just think that the next 10 years are going to be totally different than what he thought. So it's, even though it's not something we're going to see a product on until 2019,
Right.
And
They don't really need to implement it until they're actually up against that 20
Sure.
terabyte wall.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, they do plan on doing it like within a year or two.
So, even though it feels like it's really far out, it's pretty quick for a technology cadence like this. And that will be something that you'll be able to do for the next decade, is count on hard drives.
And
which
hey,
people
on that,
thought were gone.
Look on that chart. Look at the yellow line, Ryan. Look at the yellow line. It crosses 10 cents a gig.
Hell yeah, it
It's-
does.
It crosses 10 cents a gig, but it's 2024.
I was close.
Boo.
I'm still.
Ryan wants them now.
I still think it's gonna happen.
So I mean, that chart puts QLC at 2022. Aren't we even starting to see people talk about QLC now? And like,
They're talking about it.
it's gonna be sooner than 2022, right?
I mean, seeing them like, in a lot of places in production. Not only that, but they're not like that QLC blurb on that isn't. Well, it does say 2022, but it's like,
That seems a little bit.
It seems like their SSD
Negative.
predictions
Seems
may
a little
be
bit far out.
This might be based
A
on
little in their favor.
technology and not all technology.
could be.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's gonna be a while before you have a QLC, the mass media area of your SSD. It's like a SLC cache ahead of a whole chunk of QLC. Like it might very well be 2022 before that's in a desktop SSD.
Yeah.
Because TLC is pretty good right now. It's a
Yeah.
good balance of efficiency.
But it's not 10 cents per gigabyte.
Yeah. I mean, it's
We're only 2.5
diminishing.
months.
You have to realize though, it's also diminishing returns, right? You went from SLC to MLC, you got 50% more space.
Oh, I get it.
The next rung is only 33% more.
Yeah.
The next rung is only a quarter more, right? So it's like, there's a hesitation to go to QLC, right?
I mean,
Not on my part.
So Toshiba NWD announced QLC 96 layer flash in June. So
Yeah, but
why
not-
would they be producing flash that they don't expect to
It's
be?
the
in
fact that they can
products
do it,
until
but it's not
2022?
meant for like your computer SSD.
What SSDs are there besides
It
computer
would be in
SSDs?
like things that are like very few. That, like in other words, in that same announcement, they were talking about using it for archival storage. In other words, write once
Sure.
and just come back to it years later and read it. Read as many times as you want, but
Yeah.
you're only writing it very few times because
Yeah.
the endurance just isn't there, right? You can't beat the crap out of the channel material and then expect it to hold charge at QLC states, which is 16
Sure.
different states, and be able to read that, reliably, right? Anyway,
All right.
so good stuff.
So that's good stuff
Yeah.
from Western Digital. Good job on Mammer.
Yep.
Let's talk about a couple other things real quick. So Maury posted his first X370 motherboard. This might be Maury's first AMD motherboard review. I don't know if that's the case. If it's not his
Well, at least
first,
for us.
that's true. And if it's not his first here, it's his first in a very long time. And we'd had a lot of people asking for these AM4 board reviews, so here you go. The typical Maury detail fashion. So this is their Crosshair.
Nice looking board.
Yeah, it is. Is this the board we had here?
Yeah,
Ken?
that's the
Crosshair
board we
6? This is
used
the board
for
we
our
got
review.
for our reviews of it, right?
Yeah.
It's got lots of RGB. It's got the compatibility for AM3 and AM4 coolers, lighting control. Obviously, it has 3D. I still like this idea. I don't know how many people are going to use it, but the mounts for like 3D printed accessories. No PS2 ports, disappointingly, I think. No PS2 ports, but lots of USB headers across the way, one Ethernet. So, in general, this is actually let's see. Is this one of the higher feature count boards for X370 now, or have we gone kind of beyond that?
It is. It's still a $250 product.
Yeah.
And it's higher for X370. It's not the highest, but it's darn close.
You've got what they call the ROG water cooling zone. We talked about the Sync RGB, Supreme FX, 5-way optimization, USB 3.1 support, M.2, USB 3.1 Type A and C in that regard. Does it have two M.2 slots on this guy? I think I only see.
I think it's only got one.
I think it's only got one.
There's only the one.
There's one here.
I
And
thought
there's
every
not
single
a vertical one.
I thought every single one of the 370 SKUs had two.
No.
It may be hiding.
Uh,
No, I'm serious. Like I went through the specs the other day. For,
I can look at the
Yeah.
back of this, and I can look at
if it has one,
the
I'd be
spec
really
sheets.
surprised.
storage, one M.2 socket 3 with M key,
Yeah.
and
Seriously,
then just one.
that's really surprising.
I don't think it's shocking, but whatever.
But it's crafted with the finest Corinthian leather.
Okay.
And so that
Right.
adds a 30%.
Yeah.
The RGB.
Increase.
Have you ever had
Corinthian leather.
motherboards covered in leather?
And 20-karat gold connectors.
Mm.
You know, so, and I think we've looked at this board a couple times off and on. Well, and generally with our CPU reviews as well. So you can take a look through this. The feature set is there. SLI Crossfire support. You can see the typical Mori giant ass heatsink pictures that are necessary for every review. Good spacing between the cooler and the graphics card there. You know, so a lot of the Intel motherboards we see recently do not have that.
Yeah.
Still looks like 2 damn heat sinks instead of 1 in those shots, but hey, I like that you can configure the fan to rest above even the tall memory configurations there. So performance was really good. The overclocking capability. The only thing that Mori had issues with was getting memory to clock over 3200 megahertz. He was able to get the memory that he was used at up to 4 gigahertz on Intel platforms, although the memory controllers on the Ryzen parts and on Intel parts are very, very different. And so it's very likely that with some different memory, he would have been able to get over 3200 on this particular system. But in terms of overclocking, how high did he get this up here? 3.9 gigahertz on all cores. I think I was able to get mine up to 4 initially. He has the 1700X. I had the 1800X, but you know, shouldn't be a dramatic difference there. So 3.9 gigahertz on the processor, 3200 megahertz on the memory speed is going to equate to a very fast Ryzen 7 system. $234 on Amazon and Newegg and BH Photo. So
I guess that there's a few issues with this board that people have been complaining about for quite a few months. One, they're a little slow on the firmware updates.
Really?
Yeah, they're on the first version of AGESA 1.006. I guess there's 1.006A.
Not
they
like
haven't
Asus
done
to do
some
that.
updates. I mean, yeah, it's odd because they're usually some of the first, but
Yeah.
I know that ASRock has been a lot more aggressive with their Taichi board. So there's a lot of debate if the Crosshair 6 Hero is kind of the cream of the crop. So it's going to be interesting to see what Asus does. It was one of the very first AM4 boards out.
I mean, it was
And
our
I just
launch
wonder-
board. It was the one Asus
Yeah.
or AMD sent with processors for us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to
Yeah. No. And
smash this into the ground, but there's I've been reading around and there is some concerns about the design and how Asus is kind of supporting it. So it's going to be interesting to see if this will have the legs and if they can fix some of the problems with firmware. I don't know.
I will say, we've had a couple of issues with Asus BIOSes recently, just not on this board, but in general, that they seem a little confused on what settings are defaults and core clocking and all this type of stuff. So yeah, and then what was the issue we saw recently? Was it Asus that was getting in trouble for the
defaults
criticized for the defaults and
Yeah.
What
Yeah, they
boards
were-
those?
they're-
Multi-core enhancement on Z370.
Yeah,
the
that
Z370.
was the core enhancement
Yeah.
setting.
Asus and Gigabyte.
Well, it was a combination of two things. It was the core enhancement, multi-core enhancement, and the default on some boards is set to like sync all cores. So not only was it enhancing
Yeah.
the cores, but it was basically overclocking all of them slightly, or at least getting them all to go at the max
Right.
turbo
Yeah,
clock.
so yeah, I have confidence that Asus will address that stuff, but it's worth looking into. In terms of Mori's review, stock performance, overclock potential, aesthetics, BIOS, RGB, and the Aura applet, all good strengths. Weaknesses of the memory support over 3200, and it's, of course, CMOS battery placement. There was a funny comment in here that the CMOS battery should have a motorized pop-up holder with RGB lighting. 5 out of 10. So that's
That's gonna happen
worth
one
keeping
day,
in
just for
mind.
Mori.
Yep.
Another quick note. We upgraded our network with some stuff, I guess. It's not really a review as much as it is kind of like an experience report. Yes. So, Ken, could you stand up in front of the class and tell us about your project?
Well, for my project, I decided to finally update the aging infrastructure of the office.
Okay. All right.
So essentially,
And he doesn't mean you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Essentially, when we moved into this place, we had the local telco install our gigabit fiber connection, and we said, okay, that's good. We plugged in the gigabit switch we already had, plugged in some switches into some more switches, and called it a day.
The switch with the 2x4 glued to the back of it.
That was still in use.
Yeah.
Still in
gluing the
use.
2x4 to the back of a switch does not affect its performance. It simply affects the
It's aesthetic.
usability of the product as a physical item. Anyway, continue.
It's a mounting solution.
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Solution. So in preparation for some other things that we want to do with our network, like move to 10 gig on a lot of our work computers and test beds, we decided to go ahead and take a look at the infrastructure of our network and pay some attention and actually get some good gear in here.
Ugh.
Yeah, right. So Ubiquiti was kind enough to send over a couple pieces of equipment. The first being their Unify Security Gateway Pro 4, which essentially is just a router.
Okay.
For all intents and purposes, if you try to tie it back to home gear. It's an enterprise level router and firewall that you just plug your WAN connection in and you plug your LAN connection in to your switch and you kind of go about your business.
Right.
So it's, from a hardware perspective, it's a fairly simple device. You shove it in a rack or on a shelf if you don't have a rack, and you go about your day. However, the software side is where it really starts to shine. If you scroll down, you can probably open that screenshot in a new tab. Well, it's a little too big.
All right.
So the cool stuff about the Unify line from Ubiquiti is that all of their pieces work together. So we have the security gateway acting as our router, and we have a Unify access point for our wireless connection. So what we end up getting is a whole bunch of information about our network, exactly what traffic is going across. They have this feature called Deep Packet Inspection, which if you move to the next screenshot in the review, you'll actually see, well, where it'll tell you exactly what is going across your network. It'll identify traffic to certain services. Like here we see we've been doing a lot of traffic to Backblaze recently as we've been backing up 10 terabytes fairly slowly. We do a lot of work with Dropbox, someone's phone synced to iCloud in recent history, and so on and so forth. So essentially, it gives you just kind of all the information about what's going on in your network. Now, this security gateway has a bunch of features, a bunch of pro-level features like VLANs and stuff like that we haven't exactly dug into yet. But so far, it's been a really good experience. It's been a solid piece of gear. We haven't really had any problems with the network after we switched some stuff over.
Sure.
We had some configuration issues we had to work through, but we were trying to do some kind of advanced, silly stuff.
We also got this device, which is...
that's the access point.
Okay.
Ubiquiti. You know, they're one of the first to actually have patches for the WPA2 issues.
I applied it to our access point on Monday.
These guys are on the ball.
Yeah. And this stuff
Unlike
is...
Linksys.
This stuff is... I'll downright say inexpensive. So that...
For what you get.
Yeah. It's
really good.
Yeah, it's enterprise level stuff. I mean, you could absolutely use this in a large scale campus deployment if you wanted to, and it's cheap enough that you could use it at home. I'm thinking about picking up one of these.
It's like
access
25%
points.
the cost of a Cisco one.
Yeah.
Now, I will say about this access point, we have come into the office twice where it was off.
Yeah, I think that might have something to do with
because this is a power
with
over
the
Ethernet.
manual firmware update I did on Monday for the crack stuff.
Okay, because it's power over Ethernet, which is great.
Yeah, they give you the injector too. So
yeah, and if, we don't really utilize the benefit of that because ours just sits on top of a switch in our office. But in theory,
It's probably roasting itself.
No, it's pretty well airflowed right there.
Okay.
But I've never picked it up and felt that it's warm. But yeah. And we're also not doing a huge amount of wireless traffic.
No.
In general either. But so what is, you say like reasonable cost? What, like this access point is $130?
Yeah.
for a 3x3.
Yeah, let me
AC.
look up the USG router. That is that's still only $250, and that's the highest end one they offer.
Okay.
And we end up getting the Pro because
Has support for dual WAN. Did you mention that?
Yeah, so you could do failover if we got a cable connection in here as well. We could do bonding and failover and send some traffic through the cable connection if we want to. We could send all of our illicit traffic over the cable connection, use the fiber for the business stuff.
Right.
If we want to do that, a bunch of cool stuff like that. We ended up getting the Pro because we have a gigabit connection, and the lesser products, if you turn on the deep packet inspection stuff, the processing power can get a little bogged down and not let you get full bandwidth. But we've had no issues. We get full bandwidth from our connection through it, and it's just mostly a transparent piece of gear unless you need some features.
Can you
turn
believe
on.
we had to replace this guy right here?
That's Zycel?
Yeah.
Mm.
I thought this would
switch
to this computer. No, not that.
That's not that.
There it is. That
Yeah.
one. I thought we'd keep this guy forever.
To be fair, we weren't using the 802.11n built into that.
No,
we were using a
different
separate router
yeah,
for
separate router for
Wi-Fi
wireless.
and access point mode.
Yeah.
So we weren't totally in the Stone Age, but
All right.
yeah.
All right. Let's run through our news items here. Bix lighters. Tell me about them.
They were made in like a long time ago. And
I think they still make
they
them.
still make them. They're more
Oh, yeah.
plasticky now.
They're cheaper than Zippos, less
Mhm.
reliable, but you can buy them at a gas station real cheap.
Yeah,
All right, now tell me
yeah,
about
yeah.
Toshiba Bix.
It's flash memory.
BICS.
It's their 3D flash.
lowercase I.
It is Toshiba's 3D NAND, of which they can make in they're making consumer stuff 64 layer now, but as Ken was talking about, like they recently announced like 96 layer, which we posted about a month back or so. and
Mm-hmm.
This is in June.
Was it all the way
Yeah.
back in June?
This is in June.
Yeah, there was one announcement where it's like
It's been a short year.
Toshiba and Western Digital were kind of like sideswiping each other because Toshiba said, "Oh, we can do," like one company said, "We can do, 96 layer," and then like 3 days later, the other company said, "Oh, we can do, quad level cell," and then they were both talking about the same flash. Anyway,
Do we have a drive on this yet?
that has this in it.
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
The TR200?
Toshiba TR200.
Oh,
I thought you had that
we do.
TR200.
We do have that. Yeah,
You're a liar.
we have it. We have
You're
been
a lying liar that lies.
We have been distracted
it
by other
performs well
things.
for its price.
You've been using it as a doorstop, haven't you?
No.
I wedged it under one of the legs of my seat so it wouldn't wobble.
No. There's 3 of them on my desk. Minus, 2 now that your seat's not wobbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So soon on that?
Well, yes, soon.
All right. That's fine by me. More 3D NAND is better.
Yes.
Jeremy, you posted this up. MSI GTX 1080 Ti Gaming X Trio. This is the game of suffixes. So what's awesome about it?
Well, essentially the Trio comes from the fact that this has got the Trifrozer cooler on it. So you got the 10 centimeters on the outside and the 9 in the middle, so you get a little bit of fancy airflow on your super pipes.
And Sebastian can attest to that Trio cooling thing.
Super pipes.
I don't.
Yeah.
It looks
Wasn't
like it
he
has
complaining
LEDs
about that
too.
last week?
Well, he's complaining about the specific 290X Lightning, which
Oh, well.
was
yeah.
a card.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
That was an
subpar.
older Frozer cooler.
Yes.
But yeah, it's got Mystic Light on it. So you've got 3 different zones of RGBs, and you can sync it with
Mystic Light.
Oh, God.
compatible motherboards and other components as long as it'll do the Mystic Lighting. And apart from that, I mean, it's got a decent overclock at the gaming mode of 1607 megahertz. 1600 and 1620 rather. 1607 on gaming.
Yeah.
So it's a decent overclock for a TI.
Yeah.
It's going to stay relatively cool. And if you like the glow, it's got it for you.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in the chat says, another TI, blah blah blah, which is like accurate. Oops, which is like accurate, but it's still the best performing graphics card that exists. So
Kinda.
Titan
yeah.
XP, bro.
they're still gonna keep making these and upselling, and this clearly is a 3-slot design. This is
Yeah.
and they don't give
Yeah.
they don't
Not
give
only
us a
that, but
profile shot here,
you're
Jeremy.
feeling the
but-
flow.
yeah,
You're liking the glow.
exactly.
Yeah.
Asus announced a ROG Strix monitor. They are now applying this brand to essentially everything in the world. I guess they always had
It was
ROG,
ROG.
but they didn't have Strix.
We talked
Yeah.
about this last week, actually.
Did
How
you-
Strix just kind of got absorbed into ROG at some
'Cause
point, and
Strix
now
was,
there's like
Yeah.
there's like no
Notebooks? Oh, there's no differentiation.
yeah, between ROG and Strix. It's just all one.
So now it's just one term.
Honestly, ROG is a good acronym for a phrase that is dumb, right?
Yeah.
Republic of Gamers doesn't mean anything to anybody. You know, it's for enthusiasts and not necessarily only gamers. Strix is kind of like just a cool word that doesn't have any baggage attached to it. So I'm fine with that, but let's just get rid of ROG then. Just call it Asus Strix and move on, but clearly they're not going to. What is unique about this particular display? Anything, Jeremy, stand out to you?
Got lights in its bum.
Ooh, of course.
I mean,
They went for the exact same, and you guys have seen one of these monitors and made the same comment of, why would you put a light circle behind the monitor where no one's ever going to see it?
yeah, there have
Yeah.
been models that do the same thing
The-
with the stand.
Yeah,
we have
the one on the
over there.
bottom is decent, but the one behind it is just really questionable.
Oh, is there also one behind it?
Scroll down just a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, there is.
I mean, if you see the back of your desk, like
Is it bright enough to reflect off of a wall and do that Philips
maybe if you
hue
put a
thing?
mirror there.
no, like the desk in my
Dude,
house
I
is
like bias lighting.
the back of
I
the
would
monitor.
like more of it
Yeah.
on the back of my
I agree with you,
monitors.
Josh. I just don't think this is going to be bright enough for the bias lighting, and it's also not close
What
enough
was
to the edges of the
what
screen.
was the other? What is the other monitor that has that built in? Is it
Well, there was a
just
big
this
TV
one, or
that
is it
had it.
another?
I've
I mean,
really
it's
seen it on
cool if your
TVs,
desk
not
is
really
oriented in such a way where people
monitors.
are potentially walking behind it, or if
Yeah,
you're, you know,
yeah,
if you
There's some
see.
monitor that had it. It may have been this one, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
it's-
remember Antec sold that bias lighting kit for a while, and I
Yeah.
didn't get a
Yeah.
hold of it. I wanted to.
it's a 144
'Cause
hertz
it's
panel,
handy.
but the FreeSync range tops out at 140, which seems
Correct.
weird. That's a weird limit, unless it's a typo.
No,
Nope.
probably not. I
'Cause
think we've seen that on another. Wait,
Mhm.
it tops out at what? What's the
140, not
144.
144.
44? I don't. Yeah.
Typically, the top
end.
end of the panel is just the top end. Like it's just, you know.
Wonder if there's some math thing that is easier that way. I don't know.
I don't know.
That would be my bet, and then you can just set it at a static 144 hertz. And so
Yeah.
for everyone complaining, oh, it's a 1080p monitor, well, you want 144 hertz.
Like we've tested other FreeSync.
At low cost, I think too.
We've tested other
Yeah.
144 hertz FreeSync panels that went all the way to 144. That's why I'm just it
Yeah,
baffles me.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
this one's
agree.
$350, so
$350
it's maybe not their
is-
top
Yeah,
It's
it's
of the
not
line.
pretty
bad.
cheap. So
And
you
it's
know.
what's the type of panel? What is it? TN?
VA.
It's VA.
VA, yeah.
It's a VA.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really good price.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably not the neatest VA out there, but it's certainly good. And it also comes with a display widget. I don't know if you guys have played with that or not, but it's like an enhanced on-screen display software utility that you can launch and use with your
Oh my
mouse.
god! Finally.
As opposed to clicking and then screwing around with a little joystick
How has
on
that
it.
not been a thing yet?
Didn't we
I
test
thought
some
it's
display
brilliant.
that was kind of, sort of like that, but like
Yeah,
it was really,
that EIZO company that
yeah.
did one display that had that. But like,
Right.
how is that not a universal
didn't
feature at this
it also
point?
had like a phone app or
Yeesh.
something.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Like you could mess with the OSD settings all in the phone app or something.
Right.
Bluetooth pair your phone to your computer
Yeah.
monitor.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's change up gears. Talk about a mobile device, the Huawei Mate 10. Not much to talk about here. Sebastian wrote this news post up. So this is their continuation of launching high-end smartphones. This one features a new 3D glass body, which is,
In other words, curved.
I mean, I guess. I mean, it's clearly 3 dimensions because I can hold it in my hand.
Curved.
But yeah, the kind of interesting thing here from my perspective is that it uses the new Kirin 970 processor, which they announced a couple of months ago. So it's the new fastest SoC from HiSilicon / Huawei. They're the same company. The 970 includes what is it? 8. Where did he have that in there? Yeah, 8-core CPU, 12-core Mali G72 GPU. It includes their neural processing unit for AI-related tasks. What I find curious about this is now, Huawei announced this, Apple announced this, Qualcomm has, neural net specific stuff in their mobile devices. What the Kirin 970 does with it.
Yeah.
Like I know what Apple does with it. They have control over the software stack and the hardware stack, so they can do interesting things. Qualcomm, being the largest provider of SoC, it tries to get Google to do things with it. Tries to get OEMs applications to use some of those DSPs and
some
third-party
API
processors.
thing. I'm sure you.
So I'm just curious what the Kirin 970 and the Mate 10 do with some of that extra processing tech, because they were technically the first to announce a neural net processor on their SoC.
And they're in a better place than someone like Qualcomm technically, because they're making.
They make the whole device.
They're making phones as well.
Sure, but what they don't do is they don't make the software, and that's really
they do.
Well,
like, this has a camera app that uses it.
Okay.
Like they don't make the operating system, but they make software that runs on top of the OS that utilizes it.
Okay, yeah, utilizing the dual Leica or the new Leica dual camera with Sumilux H lenses, both featuring an aperture of f1.6. An intelligent photography, including AI-powered real-time scene and object recognition and AI-powered bokeh effect, which is more or less what the Pixel 2
Well, the Pixel 2 does it with one camera.
Yes.
It does the fake bokeh with one camera.
Yeah,
that
the AI,
seems to be
it does an AI-powered bokeh. So this, well, I mean, they're all bogus because one of them is just taking a blurry picture that it puts behind you.
Sure, but
right?
Pixel 2 reviews came out this week, and it seems to be a little iffy.
Oh, really?
With the depth
I thought
stuff.
the stuff I saw that it was pretty good.
So are there two different phones here? Is one the Pro?
Yes, one is the Mate 10, and the other one is the Mate 10 Pro.
Which gets you what?
The Mate 10 is a 5.9 inch with an IPS display supporting HDR10. Mate 10 Pro is a 18:9 OLED display, also with HDR10. So it's an IPS versus an OLED, and it's a little bit taller. The Pro is a little bit taller than the standard. They both have the same SoC. They both have 4,000 milliamp hour batteries.
Wait. Might as well just start calling it amp hours by now.
Yeah, 4 amp hours of that.
Yep.
Fast charging support, 1% to 20% in 10 minutes, or 1% to 58% in 30 minutes.
Pretty good
for a battery that size, especially.
Yeah,
even more so. They ship with Android 8, simplified EMUI, which I hope they actually live up to that claim. Right, less garbage around it, more direct Google stuff. But obviously, that's what they wanted to try to inject some of their capability into that. So no U.S. pricing that I know of. At least as Sebastian wrote this, European pricing for the Mate 10 was 64 gigs and 4 gigs of memory is 699 euros. And the Mate 10 Pro was $799. So I think those are mid to late November release, I think. So we'll try to get our hands on those to do some performance testing of that new SoC too. I think we already mentioned this, but is it worth mentioning again the Wi-Fi security crack, or is this a different one?
We had only mentioned it in passing when talking about the Ubiquiti.
Right. Is this a different one, Jeremy, or is this the same thing?
Nope. This is the same one.
Okay.
The same thing, but now the researchers published their stuff, right? So we're after the date where now it's just out.
Right.
Yeah. They had an embargo.
Yeah,
that they placed upon it because they notified manufacturers.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
that's a good idea.
That's out now. So now's the time to look to your manufacturer of your router and make sure you know.
Well, the router isn't the biggest deal.
Well, the router.
If you're running an old Android phone, just get rid of the damn thing.
It's also an issue, though.
It's that every client needs a patch as well, which don't exist yet.
Well, but that'll just come in
clients unless you're running,
Microsoft
running certain Linux kernels.
Yeah, I think Microsoft patched it. I think it's already been pushed out as a patch.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
That's why there was an embargo. Like it gave Microsoft a chance to do a patch.
But the embargo was also for patches, so people shouldn't have pushed patches before Monday.
No, the purpose of the embargo.
They didn't announce it,
so that it can be patched first.
I would hope that would be the case. Yeah.
So the original knowledge base article for that update just said various security updates for Wi-Fi.
They don't
They did not
publicize.
give any details.
Well, they don't publicize
on,
that
on
they
the Cracked
patched it.
Attacks website, they yelled at FreeBSD for pushing theirs too early.
Oh.
Like they specifically call out FreeBSD.
Well, you can't tell FreeBSD what to do.
Well, that's pretty much what they said. So they said, well, now we just won't tell FreeBSD as early. They won't be in the club.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can't be in the club. It's a good sandwich.
But yeah, essentially everything is
Yeah.
susceptible to one level or another.
You gotta-
Even the Microsoft patched one, if someone's got physical access and can essentially put an access point inside your network, can still sort of get at you unless you're using Internet Explorer, which screws up the four-way handshake bad enough that it is actually invulnerable to this, which is kind of fun.
So bad it's good. I like it.
It's not a bug; it's a feature.
There are some Raven Ridge leaks that have come out, starting with a data sheet that was actually, I think this actual product was listed on HP's website for a certain amount of time, but the data sheet, which is a PDF, remains, where they announced too early a system, the HP Envy X360 2-in-1 notebook, which already exists as a system. It's got various Intel processors in it. This time, what's interesting is that it uses the Ryzen 5 2500U quad-core processor. We get our first, these are the Ryzen mobile parts. These are the APUs with integrated Vega graphics as well. We get our first hints of, base clock of 2 gigahertz, burst of up to 3.6 gigahertz, 6 megs of cache. They call it Vega M for mobile on this. No real indications of the graphics performance necessarily from these leaks. But what's interesting is this isn't, I guess we wouldn't call this HP's flagship line of notebooks, but it's a good one. It's not like, I don't want to throw anybody in the
bottom
bus.
of the barrel.
It's not like the
it's
$400 Latitude from Dell type college machine, plasticky
well,
type of stuff.
Latitude is business.
Well,
Inspiron is what you're thinking of, but they also make nice Inspirons as well.
I know, and that's why I was trying to think of a better example, but I couldn't come up with one. Sorry, Dell.
Look at those hinges.
So it's a modern design. It's a yoga style convertible. The one kind of downside that people are finding from this is that it has one 8 gig DIMM in it, which
it's running at 2400.
And it's running at 2400, which is slow. But for a system from an architecture that we have clearly proven many times over that memory, frequency, and bandwidth are crucial to, and will actually
having 2 channels.
And having 2 channels is very important to having that bandwidth. And also, now that you're adding graphics into the mix, like integrated GPU onto this, it's going to be
also
even
hit that memory.
more important to have fast RAM.
I mean, it is HP. And they've done this before.
Well, yeah.
I mean, are you saying that as
everyone
a,
did this before with
are you giving that as an
laptops.
excuse, or that they know what they're doing?
No, I think they don't care what they're doing. I remember some of the previous Excavator APUs. It's all been single channel with graphics in there.
Yeah, the majority of APU laptops have been single channel memory because OEMs just don't care.
I would hope that somebody in AMD is going, guys, wait, stop. You can't
they
do
have,
this.
except that person has suffered a major head injury from banging their head on the tables all around AMD.
Then
for
AMD
years.
probably needs to give them a $10 discount because it's what it comes down to is unit cost. No one who knows about this is going to not buy this laptop because it doesn't have dual channel memory, because if they really are interested in this, the people that know about this will put in another DIMM.
Well, my question would be,
they'll
is
pay
there a
extra
second
for the
DIMM
dual
slot?
Yeah, there
channel
might not even
option.
be.
Because on the Intel side, it's not as important. It still matters, but not nearly as much. If there is a second DIMM, then yes, people who know will add it back in. But the real problem AMD is going to have is that people who go to buy these are either going to read reviews, or like the IT departments that get a sample in and determine which of these next notebooks they're going to buy 100 of.
Yep.
Do their side by sides. They're not worried about what the memory configuration is. They're worried about what's the cost for cost.
Yeah.
They
Which
get
is
from HP.
why it's single channel. It's because of the cost.
Well, not
Yeah.
only that, but
Yep.
if this was the same model line that was previously offered with Intel parts,
It is.
and Intel was much less sensitive to the single versus dual channel thing, if you designed, from a design standpoint, if you designed that machine and it only just physically can fit one DIMM, right? Even if it's soldered on or something, if it can only have one channel worth of soldered on DRAM,
Right.
you can't. Just might not be the ability to add the second channel, which is also a negative for AMD generally speaking in this kind of a market, right? Because if every laptop was fine with one DIMM on Intel and now really kind of needs a second one to get max performance.
It's almost unfortunate that this Dell datasheet even spells that out, right? Because normally you don't really see that much detail.
It's very
so
clear.
it's like, hey, good for you for being honest, but also you totally screwed that up.
That's why I think it has a second slot. Is because that's in the data sheet, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't say one by if it was soldered, probably.
No, I don't think you would.
No.
Yeah.
No, you definitely
Well,
wouldn't.
and they do mention there is a dual channel option. So
Okay.
they can charge a premium for those that actually do know.
Yeah.
And if you are selling them in bulk, you've got the option of, instead of having to buy 2 8 gig DIMMs to replace
Yeah.
the 2 4s that were in there, you can just buy a single 8 gig, which actually will end up to cost less.
Right.
Yeah.
So dick move, but economically
All right.
sound.
Well, if it does have 2 slots, then there's their upsell and even more motivation for customers to
This
choose
really
the
sucks.
upsell.
Hopefully, we solve it
Yeah.
someday with HBM on the
Just on
package,
the-
and they
Yeah.
don't have
Just
an
on the
option.
Maybe one day. In the meantime, let's talk about the performance leaks that.
That was performance.
But we don't know that it came from the same system. This is the interesting thing.
Oh,
like,
okay.
so these results are actually pretty good for AMD. These are 3D Mark 11 results, so an old benchmark, but common when you're looking at integrated graphics testing, right? And again, we don't know if this configuration is using dual channel, single channel, what
Right.
frequency. All we
Right.
know is that there's a Ryzen 7 2700U, Ryzen 5 2500U, etc. And this is the summary of the results, right? So these top results are the rumored leak information, assuming it's all correct. You've got your graphics test, which looks at the GPU, and you've got your physics test that is essentially like a CPU equivalent. Now, what's interesting is we compare that these bottom two machines are Core i7-8550Us, which are the 8th generation quad-core Kaby Lake R parts.
Right.
Right, so quad-core hyper-threaded. The top one, the first Intel one, also has a discrete GeForce MX 150, which is kind of like the minimum add-on for a notebook with Intel to kind of give it moderate graphics. Like what was the machine?
940MX was the previous
Yeah,
one.
but what machine just launched with the MX 150? It wasn't the Surface Book. Like the Surface
Something else launched
laptop,
with
I think, has an MX 150 option.
I'm not sure.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, there are. What didn't one of the Apple machines use? No, they would use AMD.
They announced the MX 150 at Computech, so it's still a new part.
Yeah.
So the idea of the MX 150 is get as a low power consumption as possible for a notebook configuration that might be like 30 to 40 watts.
It's roughly equivalent to like a GT 1030.
Yeah,
on the
got
desktop
it.
side.
And so what you see here is two things that stand out. One, if we just look at the graphics, the green bars, the Ryzen APU, the Ryzen Mobile APU, is just behind the MX 150 in terms of graphics perf, which is pretty good. Right? I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit higher, but that's actually pretty good for an integrated graphics
It's within
on
striking
APU.
distance of it.
Yeah. Now, if you look at it on the bottom green bar, 1772, that is the Intel IGP. So we're
Yeah.
talking more than 2x perf for the APU. And not to mention like the driver differences and improvements you'll have for mainstream gaming and all that stuff. Also worth noting the CPU scores, the physics scores. On the Ryzen Mobile, it's 6419. On the bottom processor from Intel, it's like within striking distance again, like 6600.
And that would just be physics that's pure.
Physics is CPU limited, right?
Yeah.
Like it's low resolution. They're testing the CPU.
No, I'm with you.
on
It's
the
just
benchmark.
that you have the same CPU on.
Yeah, so that's what's interesting. If you look at the two Intel results, one of them is 8200 and one of them is 6600.
Yeah.
The difference, we believe, is that the HP Spectre X360 is a 15-inch machine that is larger, has more thermal.
Oh, you think it's boosting higher during the
capability.
test?
It's yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's running, without any kind of thermal
Yep.
impact.
Or less thermal impact. Yeah.
My theory is that the processor in the ZenBook is configured down to not be a 15-watt
Yeah.
part anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Because these parts are configurable by the manufacturer for different
Yeah.
TDP
Thermal
scenarios.
envelopes.
so these are 15-watt Intel parts. So that's what's kind of interesting, right? So The APU is probably going to be like a 35 watt TDP, but that includes graphics, fairly high performance graphics. So in theory, the top machine in the leak and the HP Spectre X360 should be about the same power consumption total for CPU GPU.
Yeah.
Whereas the bottom one will be much lower power draw. So we would expect it to be better battery life and all that type of stuff.
I mean, moral of the story is that AMD looks pretty competitive.
They do. It's actually a really interesting thing. And we're supposed to start seeing these notebooks like November, December timeframe from AMD. These Raven Ridge is the code name, and Ryzen Mobile will be the actual name as we see it. So we're starting to see these
Ryzen M.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
I don't know. I think it's just
I thought it said Ryzen M or something.
Ryzen 7 2700U. So I kind of don't like that branding. You can't tell it's a mobile part until that last letter.
The U?
The U at the end of it, I think.
What's the U supposed to stand for even?
Like ultra low
The U is
power.
supposed to stand for Intel uses U on their comparable parts.
Yeah. Oh.
But even though I think it's unfair because I think this is a 35 watt part and Intel's U is a 15 watt part. And
Sure.
Intel's does include graphics. It's bad graphics,
Yeah.
but it does include graphics.
In a 15 watt power.
In the 15 watt part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be very curious to see what systems come out from this, what their performance looks like, all that type of stuff. So leaks as we go. A couple of other quick things. Qualcomm, they've already talked about their 5G modem. They've talked about 5G technology. Again, this is much like the storage technology, a 2019 type of deal. What they did was, what they've announced here is they've basically taken this, which is a 2U rack mount development system for their 5G NR, the NR standing for new radio, modem tech, and they've announced that they've been able to fit it into this, which is it's not a super thin, what did I say, is it 11 millimeters, I think? I don't know if I put that in there. It's an 11 millimeter thick reference phone design that they built.
I mean, based on the size of the chip that you just showed there, it looks like they could make it smaller if they wanted to.
Well, a lot of it's the first smartphone design with integration with the X50 modem. It's a discrete modem, not integrated into an SoC yet. So that's one of the reasons it's a little bit bigger.
Yep.
They were able to showcase greater than 1 gigabit per second at the 100 megahertz band using only 2x carrier aggregation. I think we had to need 4 or 6 to get it on.
You need 4 for gigabit.
4 for gigabit today on LTE. The biggest thing was that they were proving the feasibility of millimeter wave technology in a smartphone. There have been a lot of debates about can you even put this into a smartphone style device because of the amount of surface area you need for the antenna?
Yeah.
To do that, and things like holding your phone wrong are actually very
just holding
important
it at a certain certain orientation.
Your hand will block
that too.
The antenna, right? The antenna is pointed away. So they were basically trying to prove not speed at the millimeter wave, but connectivity at all in the millimeter wave in this smartphone design.
And they're pulling it off from the
So they're able to do it, yeah. And they were able to do it with a transceiver and a antenna module that is all based in silicon, and it's all tiny.
I mean, at least, people will not have to worry so much in the future about I don't want this radiation going through my body and everything. It can't even break your your skin basically.
Yeah. It was funny. I was having a Twitter discussion with somebody about it, and there's a frequency in this band that cannot pass through water fluid at all.
Yeah.
So if it rains,
it's raining,
don't use that one.
Yeah.
Right? Those types of things. So there's still a lot of challenges for them to get through, but they're just basically showcasing that this exists, that making claims
kind of curious what kind of power consumption it has.
Maybe that's why the phone's big also. It has a really big battery.
Yeah, they didn't really talk about it, about the power draw of it. They did claim that by 2019, by the time this product is actually commercialized, that they would get another 50% shrink on the transceiver module.
And probably reduce power consumption.
And I assume it would reduce power at the same time of doing
that. Phone almost looks like a battery pack with the phone added to it or something.
I find it kind of hilarious. At least they didn't show us one, but that there was no shrink between 2U rack and then surface mount component that fits in phone.
In a phone.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they went to FDSOI with this other one, and so everything was cured and solved because of that magic technology.
This was a 1 year to 1 year transition. Because I was in Hong Kong at the 4G 5G summit last year when they announced the 5G NR stuff at all, and they announced gigabit connectivity, like showed first demoed gigabit technology working. So this was the 4G 5G summit was going on this week, so that's where that came from. So still got a while, but hey, it's there.
You know, if you think about that, like how often when you're walking around are you actually in line of sight of a cell tower? Like you can actually see from where you're standing.
Not often.
So like
even with gigabit LTE, there is a massive push for little tiny microcells on top of buildings and cities that you would never notice.
There's a lot of push for
that would give you line
also
of sight.
like, hey, all of the streetlights might have a module added to them.
That's
like those types of
not
things.
going to happen.
That'd be.
It's actually built into the smart light bulb when you screw it in.
Oh, okay.
Just
It
gets magical data from nowhere.
Yeah,
Just everything in your house. Your house
it's just like a Wi-Fi repeater, essentially.
Yeah.
I see no reason why this can't work.
I mean, why not?
Jeremy quickly posted about the Windows 10 VR update. So are you excited about 3D Paint now?
Hey, it looks sexy, doesn't it?
No, it never
No.
did.
You
Is
know,
there
if you've
a-
got goggles to
Is
be
there
able
a
to paint
video
in
for
3D.
this, or should we be trying this? Is this like a thing already?
What?
don't know.
Well, it depends. I mean, it started to be pushed out, but the schedule is bizarrely unpredictable, and you don't know when you're going to get it.
Well, no, you can install
manually
it. You can
install
manually
it, but
install
you
it.
might not want to quite yet.
It's fine.
I mean, it
for
works.
me.
We put it on a few machines at the office, but
I
like,
put it
is
on
there?
my production machine.
Yeah.
I'm Rebel.
And there's a lot of people that are going to be really, really happy about Story Remix, which is Movie Maker that they dumped several generations back.
For build, Story Remix actually looks very impressive with what you can do easily.
Let me
like
get this.
it's like a movie maker on steroids.
Let me get this straight. They
Yes.
brought back Movie Maker, but they took out Paint.
No, they have Paint
Yeah,
3D.
Well, they
I know they have Paint 3D. It's not the same. You just need to place the
Paint is
Control
still
V,
there.
the thing you screenshotted, like really quickly. I don't think Paint 3D is that thing.
You've never tried it though, have you?
I have. I don't need to morph it around on the face of a cube. I just need to save the dang screenshot.
no,
You're not painting right
gotta
then.
be. And besides, Paint is still there. Just start the process. It's just not in the start menu.
So in general,
Microsoft never
Falk-
are
actually
you
gets rid
serious?
of anything.
Yeah.
So it's still there. They
No,
removed
Microsoft never dumps anything.
all
It's
of
just
this,
it's
all of this
deprecated.
heartache by people, and all they did was remove the shortcut.
Yeah, as
Is that
usual.
seriously what's going on here? Why even put?
90% of people complaining about Microsoft are because a shortcut disappeared and they're not bright enough to see if the actual executable is still around.
I just don't understand why.
Also, I just opened Paint 3D and you can totally just paste and screenshot the same way you would have in Paint.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah, it's just like it works. The
It just
same way.
works. Okay. But you have to. But you have to have gone to the App Store to
No,
install it.
I think it's bundled with the OS now.
Yes.
It was supposedly
If
an
you
app.
get this update.
Okay. Well, as long as it's
Then
there
you
and I
can
can
still
still
grab
just
it as
run
an
the
app.
thing, then I'm happy. All right.
And then the other
fine.
big thing with this,
Rant over.
as the
Rant
as the
averted.
title implies, this is the mixed reality update. It's
Yeah.
in preparation because Microsoft is going to be launching a whole crapload of VR headsets that don't need a base station. They just needed HDMI and USB connected to the machine, and it works. A lot of people picked up an Oculus or Vive and didn't really get past the whole setup thing because it isn't perfectly logical for someone who's not really used to that sort of thing. They want to plug it in and, ooh, I can see everything. The Microsoft ones are going to be like that, and they'll also run on like a Skylake processor, so you don't need quite the same heft as you will if you're trying to run one of these gaming VRs. And the actual operating system itself is going to have some inclusion for being able to interact with it in VR, and expect VR Minecraft to be hitting anytime soon. There is two things to keep in mind. If you went out and bought a Razer laptop, don't upgrade.
Oh yeah.
Razer's drivers are not compatible. They need to upgrade them, and Razer's admitted that, yeah, okay, sorry, we kind of screwed the pooch on this one. So don't upgrade it. And then if you've got one of the brand new Surfaces, yeah, I just hold off a bit.
That's funny.
It's kind of a foot in the mouth for Microsoft, but at the same time, the market share on those brand new Surfaces is still tiny enough that not a lot of people are screaming, but the ones that have them, a lot of people are screaming. Not all, but a lot.
I think if your Razer laptop's old enough, it won't matter. This is like a 2015, and I didn't even install any Razer specific drivers.
Yeah,
Like
it's probably the brand new ones.
It's literally just like, you know, default window. And it even found like the, it does the, whatever that's called, where it's passing the GPU through the CPU pathway. It can use the integrated or the discrete.
That's
Oh,
just
yeah.
built into the NVIDIA driver.
Yeah.
It can switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, like it just all worked without anything special.
Yeah, I mean,
Our last bit of news: the world's only X299 mini ITX motherboard, the ASRock X299E ITX AC. They did it. The Photoshop said it was impossible.
no. The Photoshop says the Threadripper is impossible.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
You're right. This one's still kind of crazy. They had to rotate the socket 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
There's still 4 channels, but it is SODIMM.
There are 5
Forge.
SODIMM slots, though.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
There's one to the left of the
4.
socket.
That's not a sodium
That's
slot.
the M.2.
No, they're using
That's
a
an
SODIMM slot
M.2
with an
switched on its
M.2
side.
daughter
Oh,
board.
yeah.
It's a
Well,
SODIMM
okay,
slot.
fair enough.
Oh, right here.
It's an
Okay.
M.2 SODIMM.
Yeah.
M.2 DIMM.
It's
DIMM.2.
still got 6 SATA ports.
There are 3 M.2 slots on this motherboard.
Yeah, if you flip it over
What?
Yeah.
or just scroll down a
yeah,
little bit.
on the back there. Remember I was complaining that there
You
was
can
only
see
2,
where they stuck
or no,
them
there's
on.
only 2 on the back. Yeah, there you go. So there's 2 on the back of the board.
Wow.
Yep.
Which is
And then if you
a
scroll
damn
to the
good
right,
idea.
I was complaining there
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
4, so you can do VRock with 4.
and I
On the
wanted
mini
to
ITX
slap
board.
Well,
it.
Mini
able to
ITX
anyways, 'cause one of
board.
them's
Nice.
got the Wi-Fi card in it.
And look
Yeah.
at that.
I doubt it has the VRock header on it for the key.
There's a,
Also true.
That's true.
there's a Bits Power water block, full cover water
Yeah, full
block
coverage.
for it.
specifically designed for it.
Covers the CPU and the VRMs.
Jeez.
Because you also need to cover the VRMs.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
there's no room for a dang VRM heatsink.
Yeah,
no.
actually,
The
so
VRMs are on a daughter board.
is that,
wait.
is that
to
this
the-
right
to the
here?
right
does
side.
that water
Yeah.
block
You need to
not
scroll over,
cover it?
Ryan.
You need to scroll
can't
over
see
to the
that.
right. You can't any more
Can't
further.
scroll anymore.
He can't even pinch it.
Here, hold on.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
So I wonder if that
Yeah.
block does hit those.
I don't know.
It'd have to be the side of the block would have to make contact. You stick like a...
Well, if you look, it
It
looks like there
it
is something
does.
sort of coming out of the side
Yeah.
there.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, actually, I think that's just like the tubing and lights. I don't know.
I like how there's also the daughter board sticking up for the SATA boards.
Yes.
We can't stick these off the edge.
Who asked for this?
I'm
I guess
calling
we
it.
did.
I'm calling it. They're doing a Threadripper one.
Well, I
They're
mean,
gonna figure it out. It's
Somebody's
just gonna,
figure
it's
out.
just
Because
gonna be like a
literally
90-degree
it would be
angle
as
of
big as
daughter
that bloody
boards.
water
It'll have
cooler.
one DIMM slot, of course.
Yeah, there's the socket for
Threadripper.
Threadripper.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
The rest
Right,
of the
Jeremy.
motherboard's just gonna be 90 degrees sticking out. They're gonna be
All the
gonna,
DIMMs go on the back.
yeah, yeah. All the DIMMs on the back.
Everything else just goes on the Threadripper goes on the bottom. How about that?
So you start with the
Just
socket being a
everything else.
structural part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh man.
It's actually a weight-bearing socket now.
yeah.
802.11ac, USB 3.1 Gen Type A and C.
Put an 18-core processor in this thing, and with a tiny system.
I mean, kind of tiny because you still got to cool it.
I mean,
So you either
yeah.
got to do water cooling, which is
I
not
better-
tiny.
Do you need? Is the water block required?
And yet,
No,
I don't. Well,
no, it's not
I don't think
required.
so.
Stick a Sebastian style
You can
fan
mount
on
a
that
standard
bad boy.
cooler to
I mean,
it.
there's still
Or
like the
Mori.
normal mounting holes here. You
Yeah,
can see.
Put a Mori style heatsink on there. It'd be like the size of the board.
Yeah, but I
and
mean,
then
you could
stick
do
the GTX 1080Ti at the bottom.
like Corsair has that super low profile.
I'm sorry, did you say 1080 Ti?
1080 Ti. I don't know what he's.
Ti.
He tried to abbreviate Ti.
I was like, it's either Ti or Ti. TEA was not on the list of
It's a
options.
Canadian thing.
It's
His-
Jeremy.
His eye got lost in the Canadian packet loss.
Oh, so okay, there's that board.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
let's
cool.
get into our hardware software picks of the week
Seriously, Ryan, that was your pick?
right quick. What?
Right, quick.
What do you mean?
Ken, do you have a pick?
No,
That's fine.
I'm not on
just
this
open,
podcast.
Just open up the links.
I will delete you.
So this is mine, and this is kind of a cheat for this stuff. So we have bourbon bottles, and our FedEx driver showed me this cool trick where you can make them into tiki bottles, tiki torches, essentially. All right, you basically drink all the liquor. Step one. Step
Check.
2, rinse it out. Step 3,
not
fill
yet
it with
check.
some fill it like a quarter way with some pea gravel, fill it with citronella oil, put a wick in, light it on fire. Like those are essentially the steps you have. Now, what they have, so because wine bottles have a standard opening,
Yep.
right? they sell these kits on Amazon. So like 4 of them that come with the wick, the flange essentially at the top, and the snuffers, if you will, out there, the brass caps. And you just have a wine bottle. You step 1, drink the wine. Step 2, rinse it out. Step 3, fill it with citronella oil or stone or whatever you want to do with that, March. Now the benefit here is you can see that there's like black rubber gaskets.
Yeah, O-rings.
O-rings around it. Like mine don't have any of that. If my bourbon bottle based ones fell over, oil would just come out.
And then you'd have fire everywhere.
I mean, in theory.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a little bit better. I don't know if it's like how tight or how perfectly the seal is. It's better than no seal, which is what I have. So,
right.
But again, you're putting a third of the bottle as pea gravel on the bottom, and the weight should keep it down. And then you light it up, and it looks pretty, and it keeps bugs away.
So
and you're recycling your bottles.
So almost free tiki torches. You have to buy this kit.
And you have to buy the oil.
And drink the wine.
And the oil.
And drink the wine. Yeah.
And buy the wine.
Don't mix those up.
Super easy to do. And, you know, if it's kind of a nice art piece, like if you, you know.
Remove the plastic part.
Yeah, that's if, you know.
What kind of wine are you drinking that's got plastic lips on it?
These are for other bottles. Those clearly aren't
like,
just for.
I don't think these are meant for box wine.
Tiki torch.
Challenge accepted.
Are these appropriate for
box wine tiki torch?
See, so this one, what they did was looks like they filled it with like marbles or those little glass rocks.
Yeah. Well, you want something to displace because you don't need that much freaking tiki torch oil in the thing.
You don't tell me what I need. 1.
I'm just saying.
And
like,
2, you're probably right. But
you know.
yeah. It's a neat idea.
A little bit more of a hipster at the next rally in Charlottesville with your tiki torch.
Yep.
I made my own tiki torch. It's made out of my favorite
I didn't have
wine
to buy
bottle.
it at Home Depot for this white nationalism rally.
I will say, having gone to Home Depot to try to find torch oil, they were all out of it. They were all out of it. So.
Oh.
Well, you do live in Kentucky.
What are you saying, Josh? What are you saying?
Up next, who has the KF concept?
That's me.
Who was that?
Why am I?
No. Who's next? What is your
I
product?
don't know.
Who is it?
Alan. I don't know why this is out of order. It goes Ryan, Alan, Josh, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jeremy. So we're okay. You're up here. Tell me what you got.
Well, I was fishing around. I was going to go for an incredibly cheap power supply, and then I decided to go with an incredibly good deal on a decent brand new TV.
That's not a power supply. That's not even the same category of products.
Well, no, but I got distracted by the $1,000 off coupon.
Oh.
Yeah, that works.
So, you know, so 120 hertz, 4K, active HDR with Dolby Vision Smart if you want it.
Yeah.
But it's a 65-incher for $1,100 Canadian, which is significantly less.
Holy crap.
Than most of your normal current generation ones, and it is a current generation LG.
$600 for a 65-inch 4K TV?
It's not really $600.
Yeah.
In US dollars. No, it said in US dollars in parentheses at the go up.
$877.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were real close.
Limited
Alan.
time
Real
offer,
close.
so grab them as you can.
Oh,
but
man.
yeah, that is just a damn good deal.
Yep.
So you got the TV, but your computer still doesn't work because you need a power supply?
I don't know. It was a $450 power supply that I think all told was $24.
Oh, are you talking about you needed a power supply to fix your other television? Is that
No,
what?
Oh, no.
he went
I was
searching
shopping
for a
around for
pig.
deals.
He didn't buy this.
Oh, all right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Josh, what do you got for me?
Okay, this is more of kind of software in that it's streaming, but
Sure.
wife and I sat down and watched this thing over the last couple of days, and it's a fantastic series, Mindhunter on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you need to. The guy who plays Ed Kemper, I mean, it just hooks you on in.
Wait, do we need to blur this out?
You know, what's that?
Do we need to blur that picture out?
Why?
What's he holding a picture
well,
of?
sort of, but
yeah,
kind of. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
But yeah, it's
Really?
well written, well acted, well directed. Production values top notch. See that guy, episode 2, the big tall guy. That's Ed Kemper,
Oh, okay.
a 6'9" serial killer who weighed in between 250 and 300 pounds.
Not exactly
So
inconspicuous.
he was very good at his job.
At his job, so to speak. Got it.
Yes.
That's on Netflix.
But
Okay.
it's fascinating. If you don't have Netflix, well, this is a good reason to get it because it's good.
Fair enough.
So is this one of those where you're going to tell me it gets better after this first episode? I
first
made it
episode
halfway
was a
through the
little
first
wooden.
episode and turned it off.
Yeah, no, the first episode was a little wooden, but then
It was awful.
it accelerated quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I
So,
literally
you know.
watched it last night because you'd been mentioning it, and I made it
Mhm.
till he'd hooked up with the gal at the bar and was headed home. Like, this is just abysmally awful, and turned it off.
It
So,
was,
I'll give
you
it
know,
a shot.
Yeah, the first half of the first episode was a little, but after that, it rolls quickly.
All right.
Okay.
Maybe.
Alan,
it
you're
another
last.
shot.
All right, so there used to be this trick you could do in photography where if you wanted to have a variable filter, like a variable neutral density style filter, you can take two circular polarizer filters and screw them on top of each other. And then if you kind of crossed the phase of the polarization, it would make it progressively darker.
Okay.
Right? Well, you have to buy two CPL filters to accomplish that. Well, people started making just like single packaged things that has both of these things in there, and you can buy it, and they used to be pretty expensive, and they've been getting cheaper. So now for like 20,
How do you adjust the darkness level of it?
you just rotate it.
Okay.
Right,
So
but-
it is a polarization.
It's still two pieces of
Okay.
polarized film
Mhm.
in there.
One
but
of them stationary.
just
one
one
of them, I
stationary,
got
the
it.
other one rotates. And there's like, you could tell there's a little grip, you know,
Yeah.
kind of like teeth on the edge of it that you just kind of grab onto and, you know, spin.
Yeah.
And it's less of a pain in the butt to use than the stacked pair of CPLs, because with those, if you try to turn one, you might turn both because
Mhm.
they both rotate, right? With this thing, you just, you know.
Is this so I can take pictures of the sun?
No, it's actually not
Yes.
quite enough for that because, okay, I take that back. You can take
This is
pictures of the
definitely a
sun.
picture I want over here on
If
the
you
right.
if you crank it to the max it will do, you
Yeah.
can do that. But also when you're at the max, you get some weird artifacts, like effects that, you know, makes it not a
Got it.
neutral density filter anymore. Like it was turning the sun purple and stuff like that, you know.
Fair
But
enough.
that only happens when you go all the way to the max. It's not meant to operate that far.
Mm.
So if you want to do sun pictures, you still need like some Mylar film for that. But this will cover you,
Cool.
you know.
All right, everybody. That will be it for the episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. PCPar.com/podcast. Go there, find our backlinks, our show notes, our picks of the week, RSS feeds, video files, all the stuff you need to access to continue to enjoy, or whatever you do with our podcast, can all be found there. We're running late, so I'm going to end it there. Thanks, everybody. I'm Ryan Strout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Also worth noting, I am logged in as Ken on this Amazon account, so if anybody wants me to order anything, I'm pretty sure we're good to go.
Yeah.
How many of these filters you want?
I need some Blue Buffalo.
Well,
Payment can
50-pound
balance as
bags
well
of
as the next
dog
guy.
food.
That particular model is the one that I bought for Amy's camera. So unless you have like a 600 millimeter Sigma freaking lens, 72 millimeters across on the front,
Yeah, just lying around.
Yeah, as you do.
you know, unless you have a bazooka style lens.
Thank God the TV wasn't an Amazon link.
True.
Yeah, thing would have already been purchased.
If I need a pair of Dive Right 45-pound double wings.
Listen,
That
you
doesn't
need to
sound like
speak
a
English.
thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool thing, I
It
guess.
just sounds made up.
So the camera
It's
that
a
I
real thing.
So the camera that I
is.
pre-ordered that was supposed to be available a day or two ago,
Yeah.
that I pre-ordered the minute it went up on B&H, the
Yeah.
pre-orders, that still is not in stock on
Yeah.
B&H, still hasn't shipped,
Mm-hmm.
was in Best Buy yesterday apparently.
Sounds like you should just go to Best Buy and cancel your B&H
I don't want to
pre-order.
pay tax on $1,700.
Okay, then you should shut
Uh,
up.
Don't buy
Yeah.
that camera.
It's still annoying though. I
Hey,
know
hey
first world
Alan, you're
problems.
still supposed to pay tax on that.
Yeah, whatever. No, I don't want to pay tax on
You just
$1,700.
publicly announced that you were breaking a law.
Going to jail.
Going to jail. Straight to hell.
Taxman is coming for
That
you.
does suck, though. I would would have expected
kinda annoying.
B&H to be.
Like B&H should be like, you
On the
know,
ball.
kind of like the main person that gets those. And I know I'm at least near the top of the pre-order list since I was like, I don't remember what time it went up, but it was like some annoying time that I had to make sure I was ready.
It's like 10 a.m.
Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't like 6 in
No,
the
it was
morning.
earlier than that. It
I
was
don't
pretty. It
think
was
so.
early.
Just felt like it.
No, like 10, I wouldn't complain about. Of course,
Well-
Technoscope needs a 72 millimeter neutral density filter. Of course he does.
Of course.
For what camera?
So close to being an X-wing.
I just want
We're
to know what
gonna get
other
it for you
lenses have
then.
72 millimeters, because that's like an enormous front element for a lens. That's pretty dang big.
Pretty big.
Pretty big.
So you got your order
Oh
in
yeah,
for,
you know what? Yeah,
Buffalo
some of the
Trace Antique
wider
collection?
angle Sigmas do have. Yeah, I should have remembered that from back when I was back when I bought the Sony Alpha, the first one, right after they got Minolta.
Yeah.
The sensor that had the absolutely horrible low light noise performance, which is why I later sold the camera. But yeah, it was cool that I was able to have a wide angle, and then a mid range and a zoom, and they all three had the same filter diameter, and I think it was 72.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how much volume Sony's camera operations move, like if they're revenue positive or whatever, but like that Minolta acquisition from like a product perspective was a great fucking idea.
It was.
Like they make amazing cameras now, and you can watch the pattern of them taking the Minolta tech and transitioning.
Yeah.
They.
But what's funny is all their good stuff is Zeiss glass.
Well, yeah.
I don't think Minolta had the deal with Zeiss. Sony did.
Yeah.
So it's like they got the Minolta stuff in order to get the mount, but now they've kind of even moved past that.
Well, I mean, they use it as a transition to get people to buy their DSLRs and then their first mirrorless cameras.
They would not be where they are now if not for that Minolta acquisition.
Yeah.
Nowhere near it. They would still be making... They'd probably still be making cameras like the ones I usually use, just the non-SLR style.
Yeah.
Only
non-interchangeable
from the
lens.
mind of Minolta.
Yeah.
I'm aging myself there.
$72 is the... Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Microscope's
Yeah, the
blinking
Amazon
Instagram
listing that you
photos.
linked had a bunch of different cameras, so I think some kit lenses are 72.
You know, F you Instagram for making me log on an iPad to see content.
Yeah.
And it's not even an iPad native app. It's a freaking iPhone app. It's blown up like 3,000 times now. It's such an
pretty
old...
stupid.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I hate like people send me Instagram links, and if I'm not logged in, I can't see them.
That's so dumb.
Instagram is the devil. The devil. Worse than Facebook.
Oh God,
Is it
no!
a hip thing to hate?
Oh God, no! Instagram is the only like reasonable social network left because it's just people posting photos of
Reasonable.
shit without any commentary.
Yeah. That is true.
It's like the only decent thing left.
They have comments, but they're kind of optional.
You just don't read them. You just
You just kind of like don't even notice they're there.
there.
You don't have to notice they're there even.
Yeah.
You're just like, picture.
They're enough out of the way.
Oh, wait, some people said some stuff about this picture. Yeah, whatever. Next picture.
All right, everybody, I have to get up early, so I am disconnecting from this conversation.
Fine.
Okay.
Have fun
Good
at
night.
Disney.
See you.
Most,
Say hi to Mickey.
the
Oh, I
most
will.
magical place on earth.